before anyone called her Madam, before she ever wore a wedding gown, before the words, "Your tummy is too big," ever touched her ears. She was just a girl from Guagualada in the calm side of Abuja, with skin like melted honey, and dimples so deep that even strangers smiled back when she did. Her name was Chinaza. She walked with a lightness in her step, like the world didn't scare her. Her voice was soft, her laughter was rare, but when it came, it filled a room. She wasn't the loudest girl in the compound, but she was the one everyone noticed. Not because she tried, but because she glowed. The way her clothes sat on her frame, the way her waist curved naturally into her hips, the way her hair always looked neatly packed, even when it wasn't. Her mother sold ugu and okra at the junction. Her father, a mechanic, always came home smelling of engine oil and dreams. They weren't rich. They lived in a 2-room face-me-I-face-you house with neighbors always fighting and water that only ran on Thursdays. But Chinaza? She was the kind of girl that even wealth couldn't touch, because her beauty was pure, simple, unbothered. On Saturdays, when other girls chased boys, she helped her mother in the kitchen. On Sundays, when the compound girls wore heels to church, Chinaza wore flats and a simple lace gown, yet still looked like the pastor's daughter. People used to say, "This one go marry money. Mark my words." They didn't know. They were speaking prophecy. It was a Thursday evening in Maitama, Abuja. Jennifer, her friend from school, had dragged her along to a birthday party. "Come na, Chinaza, let them see what real beauty looks like." Chinaza didn't want to go. She didn't even own fancy clothes. Jennifer loaned her a soft lilac gown with gold stones and handed her a pair of nude heels. She helped her do light makeup. For the first time in a long while, Chinaza looked in the mirror and smiled. She looked like the version of herself she'd forgotten she could be. The party was held in a quiet garden lounge. Music playing, candles on the tables, soft laughter in the air. And that's where Paul saw her. From across the space, dressed in a crisp white shirt and navy trousers, he froze. He watched her laugh, watched her sip her drink quietly, watched the way her shoulders moved gently when she tilted her head. "Who is that girl?" he asked, no one in particular. Minutes later, he was standing in front of her. "Hi, I don't mean to disturb you, but you are the most beautiful woman I've seen in a long time." She smiled shyly. Her dimples danced. That was the beginning. Paul was everything a girl from Guagualada had never dreamed she could touch. He was calm, clean, and charming. He didn't talk too much, just enough to make her feel safe. He didn't flaunt his wealth, but everyone knew his name. He owned properties in Maitama, had partners in London, and drove a black Mercedes that always smelled like cedarwood and confidence. And yet, he wanted her. They dated for a year, and during that year, Paul treated Chinaza like glass. He called her every night. He sent her food, flowers, clothes, shoes, even perfumes she couldn't pronounce. And on the 1-year anniversary of their first meeting, Paul dropped to one knee in the middle of Jabby Lake Mall and said, "I want you to be the mother of my children. I want to look at your face every morning for the rest of my life." Everyone clapped. She cried. And by the next month, she was wearing a diamond ring on her left hand. The wedding? A movie. Kente, lace, diamonds, friends flying in from abroad. She looked like a queen. He looked like a king. They said their vows beneath a white canopy as the sun set over the Abuja skyline. For better, for worse, they said. They had no idea what worse would look like. 1 year into the marriage, they welcomed their first child, a baby boy with Paul's exact eyes. The joy was endless. Photos, naming ceremony, new furniture, baby clothes from abroad. But as the baby grew, so did Chinaza's body. She didn't lose the baby weight immediately. Her tummy stayed a little soft. Her hips grew fuller, her breasts heavier. Paul was still sweet. But one day, as she stood in front of the mirror tying her wrapper, he said, "That wrapper is making your stomach look bigger." She laughed. "Ah, leave me, Jer. It's baby fat. It will go." He didn't argue. He kissed her forehead and went to work. But something shifted that day. He had noticed. After the second baby, it became harder. Her sleep was irregular, her appetite constant. She found comfort in food, hot rice at midnight, chilled drinks, sweet bread in the morning. She breastfed, cleaned, cooked, and slept on the couch half the time. Paul's comments became more frequent, not cruel, just cutting. "Maybe don't wear that. It hugs your stomach." You know, Chinaza, other women bounce back quickly after childbirth. "Do you want us to try portion control?" She laughed them off. "I'm married. I'm not chasing anybody. What matters is that I'm happy." But deep down, she wasn't sure she believed that anymore. One morning, Paul dropped a pamphlet on the table. A new gym had opened in their estate. "Let's try this together for fun," he said. She knew what he meant, so she said yes. She bought sneakers, gym leggings, water bottles. She started going. Day 1. She gasped after 10 minutes on the treadmill. Day 3. She nearly fainted doing sit-ups. Day 5. She cried in the bathroom from exhaustion. Day 7. She binged fried rice at 11 p.m. and gave up. "I can't kill myself, Paul," she told him. "But you're not even trying," he snapped back. That was the first time he raised his voice about it, and she, feeling ashamed, packed her gym clothes into a bag and never opened it again. At a bridal shower one Saturday, one of her old friends said, "Babe, why not just do lipo? 1 hour you'll come out with flat tummy and tight waist." Chinaza blinked. She had heard of it, read about it, seen influencers post about it. But the idea of someone cutting her body open, inserting tubes, sucking fat? God forbid, I'll never. "What if I die?" she said. The friend laughed. "You're already dying slowly inside. Just fix your body and move on." Chinaza didn't sleep well that night. It was a Tuesday morning. She had just fed the baby. The house help was cleaning. Paul hadn't come home the night before. She sat on the couch scrolling through Instagram, and then an ad. A woman, smiling confidently, holding a small brown bottle. "Ladies, you don't need to suffer. No gym, no pain, no cutting. Just drink this herbal blend once a day, and watch your tummy flatten like paper." She paused, watched it again and again. No surgery, no side effects, no stress. She clicked the link. Her hands trembled slightly. She stared at it for almost a full minute. The woman on the screen was young, sharp jawline, flat belly, wearing a white two-piece crop top set that clung tightly to her waistline, as if it was custom-made for her new shape. She smiled in the ad like someone who knew she had conquered something every woman feared, a stubborn tummy. The voice in the video said, 7 days. That's all it takes. No pain, no gym, no injections, no cutting. The bottle in her hand was small, brown. The label was clear. Tummy Tea Blend, 100% herbal. Chinaza's eyes narrowed slightly. She wasn't sure what she was feeling. Curiosity? Resentment? Desperation? She tapped the profile. The page had over 70,000 followers, testimonies, before and after photos, women showing their waists, their jeans falling loosely around their hips, their captions full of thank you messages and emojis. She hovered over the send message button. Her thumb almost tapped it. But then, "Hiss, please!" She locked her phone, shoved it under the throw pillow, and stood up. "As if flat tummy will fix my marriage." She didn't message, but she didn't forget. She didn't unfollow. She didn't close the tab. She didn't block the ad. She simply saved it somewhere in her mind, the way a woman saves a plan she swore she'd never do, until she breaks. That night, Paul came home early. It was rare. He entered the house wearing a cologne she hadn't smelled in weeks, a soft mix of cinnamon and cold mint, the one he used to wear when they were still dating. Chinaza was in the kitchen, wearing a comfortable t-shirt and leggings, nothing fancy. Her hair was tied in a scarf, her tummy pressed softly against the cotton fabric of her shirt. "Hi," she said, smiling faintly. Paul looked at her for a moment before responding. "Good evening." His eyes did a quick scan, from her head to her middle. Then he stopped. She noticed it. "There's food on the table." "I already ate," he replied flatly, walking past her into the living room. She stood there for a moment. Her hand was still on the kitchen counter, gripping the edge, as if her body was trying to remain steady while her heart tried to climb out of her chest. He had looked at her like she was a chore. 3 days later, they went to the mall together. Paul had insisted. "Let's go out. Just buy a few things for the house, get some air." She wore a soft peach maxi dress, flowing, simple. It was the only thing that still made her feel confident, even though it had no shape, no waist, no drama. As they walked through the chilled air of the supermarket, Paul pushed the trolley while Chinaza moved slowly beside him, picking a few groceries. They reached the cereal aisle. Then Paul froze. Right in front of them was a woman, tall, slim, glowing, wearing high-rise jeans and a crop top. On her side stood 4 children, all laughing, all eating snacks. She looked like a model, a glowing one who had clearly given birth 4 times. Her waist was tight, her makeup light but striking, her tummy flat. Paul turned to Chinaza and said softly, but sharply, "You see what I'm talking about?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "That's what I mean," he said, gesturing subtly with his chin. "You can still be a mother and look like that." She swallowed hard, looked away. Suddenly, the air-conditioned aisle felt too cold. She wanted to scream, she wanted to cry, she wanted to disappear. That night, she stood in front of the mirror in their bedroom, alone. She removed her gown slowly, looked at her reflection. She wasn't ugly, she wasn't old, but she wasn't who she used to be. Her tummy sat gently over the top of her underwear. Her stretch marks glowed like lightning bolts on both sides. Her waist had disappeared. Her back had widened. Her eyes looked tired. She touched her belly, rubbed it, pressed it. "Am I really that bad?" she whispered. She heard Paul enter the bathroom behind her. He didn't say anything. 1 week later, Paul drove home early from work. It was a hot Wednesday afternoon. As he turned into the compound, he saw her, Mrs. Uju, their next-door neighbor. She was outside, watering her flowers in the compound garden, wearing a soft white crop top and a pair of bum shorts that clung to her body like second skin. Her stomach was as flat as a magazine cover, her hips wide, her skin soft, her legs clean. Her 3 boys ran around barefoot, laughing, chasing one another. Paul slowed down, watched for a few seconds longer than he should have. When he entered the house, Chinaza was on the sofa, feeding the baby pap. Her wrapper was loose, her hair undone, her stomach pushed forward through the fabric like she didn't even notice it anymore. He dropped his car keys and said, "Honestly, Chinaza, look at you. Look at yourself." She turned. "What?" "Mrs. Uju has 3 boys, 3. Yet she still has a flat stomach. Why are you like this?" She stared at him, her hands trembling over the baby's bowl. "You're comparing me to Uju now?" "I'm comparing you to someone who cares, someone who still wants to be attractive, someone who respects herself." Her lips quivered, her chest rose, but she said nothing. Saturday came. Paul's company was hosting a formal couples dinner at a 5-star hotel in central Abuja. All staff were expected to attend with their spouses. Paul had picked out a dress for Chinaza, a deep red satin gown with a slit and fitted waistline. She tried it on and gasped in the mirror. "Paul, this dress is too tight on me." You'll manage. You need to start dressing like a woman who's proud of herself." She wore it. The slit was beautiful. The fabric hugged her body. But her tummy bulged so much that she had to use a shawl to cover it. Even then, it pushed out as if begging for attention. At the dinner, they sat among glowing women, all slim, shaped, stylish. Paul's colleagues glanced occasionally at Chinaza, then turned back to their wives. Paul smiled through it all, but behind that smile was a storm. On their way home, he didn't say anything until they were halfway down the highway. "You embarrassed me tonight," he said. She blinked. "What did I do?" "Your stomach. That was what you did. Everyone saw it." Tears began to gather in her eyes. She looked out the window and whispered to herself, "I'm the mother of your children." He didn't respond. The house was full that Saturday. Purple and white balloons floated lazily across the ceiling. A happy birthday banner stretched across the wall. Their last child, baby Amarachi, was turning 2. The compound was decorated. Paul had spared no cost. Caterers moved around, setting food on long, decorated tables. Coolers of jollof, fried rice, goat meat, puff-puff. Music played softly from rented speakers. Children ran around with party packs. Chinaza wore a fitted peach gown, simple but elegant. She had begged her tailor to cinch the waist a little. She wore a waist trainer underneath, so tight she could barely breathe. But still, her tummy pushed through. It rose beneath the fabric like a stubborn balloon. Even with all her effort, the shawl, the scarf, the controlled breathing, it refused to stay hidden. She walked past a group of women chatting by the Zobo table. They smiled politely, and as she walked away, she heard it. A whisper. This her Belshaw. Is she pregnant again?" Another woman replied with a giggle. "Or maybe the baby is just hiding inside small room. Maybe number 4 is already cooking." They all laughed. Chinaza's hand immediately dropped to her stomach. Instinctively, she held it like a wound. Her smile froze. From across the yard, Paul saw her, and he looked away. The party ended by 6 p.m. Guests left. The children slept off. The house help carried Amarachi to bed. Paul was outside by the car, holding his keys, waiting. Chinaza came out, still in her dress, still holding her stomach like it was glass. They drove in silence. The road was smooth, the air was still. But inside the car, tension thickened like smoke. She wanted to say something. Ask him if he heard the women. Ask him if he would defend her next time. But instead, he broke the silence. "You heard what they said?" Her heart dropped. "What?" "The women, by the Zobo. You heard them, didn't you?" She swallowed hard. "I did. Maybe you should finally take it seriously." "Paul." "No, Chinaza, I'm tired. You always make excuses. I got you help in the house. I gave you time. But you still don't care." "I care," she whispered. "Then show it." That night, Chinaza knelt by her bedside. The room was dark, except for the soft flicker of her phone screen charging beside the lamp. She didn't cry. She just stayed still, hands together, eyes shut. "God," she said softly, "please help me. Please fix this. I don't know what else to do. I just want to be enough for my husband again. I don't know when I lost myself, but please, I want to feel like a woman again." Her voice shook, but her tears didn't fall. She had cried so many times. Her tears were tired. 3 days later, Paul called her from work. "Get dressed. Let's go to the mall. I want to buy something for the house." She wore a flowy Ankara gown, covered her head with a scarf. She wanted to look decent, not desperate. They arrived at Jabi Lake Mall around noon. It wasn't crowded. The air smelled of perfume and air freshener. They walked side by side. Then it happened. While passing a glass boutique window, Chinaza caught a glimpse of herself. Paul, walking ahead, didn't notice. She paused, looked at the reflection. She stood still. Her stomach bulged like she was 4 months pregnant. The scarf around her chest did nothing to hide the heavy curve of her belly. Just then, a young couple walked past them. The woman wore a short yellow dress with white sneakers. 2 children ran ahead of her, one in each hand. Her body was tight, her posture confident. Paul turned, watched them briefly, then looked at Chinaza. He didn't say anything, but his eyes did, and that was worse. That evening, after the children had gone to bed, Chinaza sat in the living room. Paul walked in, took off his shoes, and slumped on the chair beside her. "I'm tired." "So am I," she replied quietly. He looked at her. "Tired of what?" "Trying, failing, being blamed, being compared to every woman that walks past you." "Then do something," he snapped. "You act like I'm asking for magic. Just fix your stomach." "It's not just my stomach, Paul, it's me. My body has carried 3 of your children." "So what?" "Other women do it, and they still look presentable. You? You eat like food is going extinct." Her eyes widened. Her chest tightened. "Paul, you want the truth? You disgust me sometimes. I can't even touch you without seeing that belly." She stood up, walked into the room. She didn't slam the door, but something inside her slammed shut. That night, she lay on her side. The moonlight shone faintly across the bed. Paul was snoring beside her. She reached for her phone, unlocked it, typed into the Instagram search bar, "at Flat Tummy Blend Herbs." The page loaded. Still there, still active, new testimonials, new videos, more women. She scrolled, watched, paused. One video showed a woman before and after. Day 1, bloated, round stomach. Day 7, tight waist, flat belly. Caption, "No gym, no stress, just sip and glow. 7 days, 7 inches gone." Chinaza didn't move. She clicked, "Message." Her thumbs hovered, but she didn't type. She locked her phone, rolled over, but this time, the image stayed in her mind, like a fire burning slowly. She was getting close, and she knew it. It was 2:07 a.m. The house was silent. The only sound was the quiet hum of the ceiling fan and Paul's deep, careless snoring. Chinaza was wide awake. She hadn't slept. She had spent the past 30 minutes watching old photos of herself, the engagement, the wedding, the Ankara dress she wore at Amarachi's naming ceremony, how beautiful she looked, how her waist held that fabric like it was made for her. She missed her. She missed the woman in those pictures. With a sigh, she opened Instagram. The page was still open from the night before. Her finger tapped, "Send message." "Hi, I saw your product. Please, I want to ask something. Is it safe? Will it work even if someone eats anytime they want? Does it have side effects? Can it flatten belly completely or just small reduction?" She stared at the message, read it again, then hit send. It went. Blue tick, delivered. Within seconds, the reply came. "Good morning, sis. Our tummy blend is 100% herbal and works without gym or diet change. You will see changes from day 3. No side effects. Just drink once daily after breakfast. Price, 35,000 naira. Promo ends tonight." Chinaza read it twice. "Do I have to avoid food?" she asked. "Not at all. Eat normally. It burns fat while you live your normal life." She bit her lip. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed, "Send account details." The next morning, Chinaza told the house help she wasn't hungry. She barely spoke to Paul. He left the house without saying goodbye. By 10 a.m., a bike arrived at gate 3 of their estate. The delivery man held a small black paper bag with golden ribbon handles. Inside the bag was a small brown bottle and a folded instruction note. The label read, "Tummy Ease. Melt the belly. Claim your beauty." Chinaza took it carefully, signed, and closed the gate without a word. She didn't open it immediately. She placed it inside the deepest part of her wardrobe, under her wrappers, behind her unused handbags. She wasn't ready, not yet. But it was there, like a weapon waiting to be used. That evening, Paul invited one of his colleagues over for dinner, Kalechi, a man from their church. He brought his wife, Ifeoma, a tall, slim, effortlessly elegant woman with dark red lipstick and a voice that sounded like jazz music. Chinaza served the food: rice, peppered chicken, coleslaw, and chilled fruit wine. She wore her wine-colored wrapper and blouse, but she could feel it. The way the blouse stretched tightly over her tummy, how she had to constantly pull it down when she stood. Halfway through dinner, Ifeoma laughed at a joke and turned to Chinaza. "Auntie Chinaza, you're glowing, oh! You're pregnant again?" Everyone laughed softly. Chinaza blinked, smiled, and said nothing. But her heart sank. Paul looked up. His eyes narrowed slightly. Then he looked away and changed the subject. Later that night, when the guests had gone and the house was quiet, Paul didn't even look at her. He just said, "Maybe it's time to stop embarrassing me in public," and walked into the room. She waited 2 more days. She read the instruction leaflet at least 15 times. Shake well. Use 1 tablespoon only. After breakfast. No food restrictions. No physical activity required. Do not combine with other tummy products. Maximum results within 7 days. It smelled like bitter leaf and burnt ginger. She stood in the kitchen early morning, the children still asleep, the sun not fully risen. She poured a tablespoon into a small cup, stared at it, took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and drank it. The taste bit her tongue sharply. It was bitter, sour, slightly warm, like old herbs soaked in clay. She wiped her lips, washed the cup, and waited. Day 1. No change. She ate twice that day, took a nap, watched TV, no cramps, no discomfort. She felt normal, almost annoyed. Day 2, slight rumbling in her stomach. She used the toilet twice, not urgently, just deeply. She checked the mirror, still the same. Day 3, she woke up early, stood in front of the mirror in her slip gown, lifted the fabric slowly, and stared. Her stomach, flatter, not gone, but visibly flatter, softer, almost like something had been lifted from the inside. She turned sideways, tilted her head, pressed her palm against it. Her waist felt tighter. She exhaled. A strange excitement filled her chest. She took her next dose with a smile. On day 4, Chinaza went to buy tomatoes at the local market. She wore a fitted skirt and a soft blouse that she hadn't dared to wear in months. At one of the stalls, a full mirror leaned against the wall, placed there by a vendor selling wrappers. She caught a glimpse of herself, paused, walked closer. Her blouse clung to her body differently. Her stomach looked smaller, the bulge less aggressive, her shape more defined. A woman walked past and said, "Auntie, your cloth fits you well. Are you going for an occasion?" She smiled. For the first time in a long time, she smiled and meant it. By day 5, Paul noticed. He entered the room while she was dressing. She wore her old blue gown, the one she had stopped wearing because it made her stomach too obvious. This time, it didn't. He paused, looked at her, then walked to the wardrobe without saying a word. But later that night in the living room, while she sat feeding the baby, he passed behind her and said, "You look different. What are you doing?" "Nothing," she said calmly. "Just trying to watch what I eat." He didn't push, but she saw it, the tiny flicker of attention returning in his eyes. And just like that, she took her next dose. The sun filtered softly through the white curtains that morning. Chinaza stood in front of her wardrobe, wrapped in a towel, her skin still damp from her shower. She pulled out a gown, a mustard yellow fitted dress with a side zip, the one Paul had bought her after the birth of their second child. She hadn't worn it since. Each time she tried in the past, her stomach would press against the fabric so much that she felt like it would tear at the seams. But something pushed her to try it today. She held her breath, slipped one leg in, then the other. She pulled it up gently, slowly, and paused at the waist. Her eyes widened. The zipper closed, easily. She turned to the mirror and gasped. It fit. Perfectly. No bulge, no tightness, no embarrassment. Just her, soft curves, a neatly cinched waist, and a flat stomach that looked almost airbrushed. She twirled slightly. Her eyes began to shine. She took a photo, saved it, didn't post, just kept it for herself, and smiled all through breakfast. Later that afternoon, Paul came home early. He walked into the house and paused at the entrance. Chinaza was arranging shoes at the door. She wore the yellow gown. Her scarf was neatly tied. She had small gold hoops on her ears. He stood still for a few seconds longer than usual. "Wow," she turned. "What?" "You look nice," he said. "Thank you," she smiled. "Like, really nice," he added. She laughed, softly. Her dimples danced. He stepped forward, dropped his keys on the table, and kissed her cheek. "I like this version of you." She said nothing, but her heart whispered, "You didn't know I was always here." 3 days after completing the bottle, Chinaza stepped out to greet Mrs. Uju, the same neighbor Paul once compared her to. Mrs. Uju smiled and said, "Mrs. Chinaza, you're glowing. Oh, did you change your cream?" Chinaza chuckled. "No, ooh. Or you went for one of those snatching surgeries?" Chinaza shook her head, her smile wider now. "Just drinking herbs and managing what I eat. It's working, oh, because this your waist now? It don't vanish." They both laughed. But inside, Chinaza felt a new kind of joy. Not the fake kind people post on Instagram, but the kind that grows quietly, from surviving shame and finding yourself again. That night, Chinaza sat on her bed in a silk nightgown. She opened her Instagram, scrolled to the vendor's page. New testimonies, new photos. One woman said she lost 9 inches in 10 days. Chinaza smiled faintly and typed, "Hi, I finished my first bottle. Can I order another one?" The vendor replied, "Of course, sis. Your results are amazing. Second bottle is 40,000 naira, but I'll give you a discount. You're family now." She sent the money immediately and slept with a full heart. The second bottle arrived the next morning. It looked the same size, same smell, same label. She began drinking it that day. Not because she wasn't satisfied, but because she had tasted admiration again. And it was addicting. Paul now came home earlier. He touched her waist more. He called her baby again. He even invited her for a work cocktail party that Friday night. She hadn't attended any of his work events in almost a year. She wore a short black gown that clung to her body like poetry. Paul didn't take his eyes off her all night. His colleagues stared. One whispered, "Your wife is glowing. Oh, did she do a makeover?" "She's just taking care of herself now," Paul said proudly. Chinaza smiled, not because of the compliment, but because she had felt invisible for too long. The next week, Chinaza visited her hairdresser for a retouch. As she sat under the dryer, 3 other women were having a loud discussion across the salon. "You haven't seen that herbal tummy drink? It's working wonders. I heard someone bought it and lost 3 inches in 4 days. If I can get money, I'll buy 3 bottles straight. Even gym people are afraid of it." Chinaza listened, quietly amused. One of them turned and said, "Auntie, please, oh, you're looking fit. Hope you're not drinking that thing." She laughed. No comment. They all burst into laughter, but her heart swelled, because for the first time in forever, she was part of the beautiful crowd. That Sunday, Chinaza wore a long, white fitted lace gown to church. Her scarf was tied into a layered rose style. She wore light makeup, simple gold earrings, a soft smile. As they stepped out of the car, Paul took her hand, held it, for the first time in months. They walked into the church as one. During praise worship, two women tapped her back. "Mummy Amarachi, please, where did you do your tummy? You look amazing, God is good." She simply smiled, and as the choir sang, "I'm no longer a slave to shame," she closed her eyes, lifted her hands, and whispered to herself, "Thank you, God. I feel like a woman again." Later that week, Paul invited Chinaza on a private dinner date, just the two of them, at one of Abuja's rooftop lounges overlooking the city lights. She wore a red wrap dress with a deep neckline. Paul pulled out her chair, poured her wine, and said, "I don't know what you did, Chinaza, but I've missed this version of you." She looked at him, her eyes calm. "I didn't change for you, Paul. I just remembered myself." He reached for her hand. "Then thank you for remembering." That night after they returned home, Chinaza walked into the bathroom. She wore a silk nightgown, her hair wrapped in a bonnet. She looked in the mirror. No belly, no bulge, no stretch of fabric. Just her, glowing, trim, serene. She touched her waist, closed her eyes, and said, "It's back. I'm back." It started slowly, with the way Paul touched her lower back in public again, the way he paused to admire her as she passed in the house, the way he brushed invisible dust from her shoulder at the gas station just so other men would know. She's mine. Chinaza felt it. It wasn't just attraction, it was power. For years, she had walked beside him as a shadow, unseen, compared, criticized. Now, she walked ahead of him. Not with arrogance, but with the quiet confidence of someone who had found her light again. Women asked her what she did. Men looked twice. Even Amarachi, her toddler, said one morning while tugging her dress, "Mummy, you look like Auntie Barbie." She laughed. But something inside her stirred, a quiet hunger to stay this way, to never go back. On a bright Thursday morning, Chinaza visited her tailor in Wu's. She hadn't sewn new clothes in almost a year. Her old dresses were either too loose now or belonged to the woman she had left behind. As she entered the small boutique, her tailor, Mama Ifunanya, dropped her scissors. "Jesus, Chinaza, is this you?" Chinaza smiled. "Good morning, Mama." "Iwu, you've reduced, oh. What happened? Wait, don't tell me you finally went for surgery." "No surgery, Mama. Just herbs. Good ones." Mama Ifunanya walked around her. "Ha! Turn around. Turn again. My dear, you are even finer now than before marriage. Oya, let's sew styles that will announce you." They spent the next hour picking lace, taffeta, organza, fitted styles, fish-cut skirts, Ankara tops with dramatic sleeves. For every measurement, Mama Ifunanya laughed in shock. Ah, even your waist is now size 28. Chinaza, please give me this secret." Chinaza just smiled and sipped her malt. It's called coming back to life. 1 week later, Chinaza stopped by a local pharmacy to buy cough syrup for Amarachi. As she stood at the counter, two men waiting to be attended to kept stealing glances at her. She pretended not to notice. Her gown was ankle-length, but it hugged her hips and waist like butter. Her makeup was soft, her earrings subtle, her voice calm. When she turned to leave, one of the men whispered to the other, "If not that I saw her with a wedding ring, I'd swear she's not married." She heard it, every word, and her lips curled in a smile. She wasn't interested, but it felt nice. She walked past them like a queen, perfume trailing behind her as they watched her hips move like slow music. It was a quiet night. The moon glowed faintly outside their window. Paul was asleep, his chest rising gently with each breath. Chinaza stood by the mirror. She wore nothing but her silk nightwear. She turned left, then right. Her waistline had never been this sharp. Her stomach looked like flat glass. She pressed her fingers into it, felt nothing, no fat, no softness, Just flat, smooth, almost hollow. She laughed to herself. What a miracle. Then, just as she turned off the lamp, she heard it. A tiny sound, not a voice, not a noise. More like a whisper inside her own mind. One word, software strange. More, she paused. What? Silence. Paul snored. The fan whirred. She shook her head. Maybe I'm just tired. And went to sleep. The next day, the invitation came through Paul's office. A client, a high-level businesswoman, was hosting an exclusive garden party for Abuja's most influential couples. Paul had once said, "I don't want you at those kinds of events. You might feel uncomfortable." Now, he was the one who insisted, "You're coming with me. I want everyone to meet you." She wore a velvet emerald green gown. Her hair was styled in a low bun with gold pins. Her earrings sparkled gently beneath the garden lights. The moment they walked in, people turned. Is that Paul's wife? She's stunning. Where has she been hiding her? A photographer took their picture. Paul put his hand proudly on her waist. She leaned into him gently. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't just Paul's wife. She was the woman everyone wanted to know. At her women's prayer group, held every Thursday at the church annex, Chinaza shared her testimony. "There was a time I hated looking in the mirror," she said. "I felt invisible, unseen, and then God began to restore me, not just on the outside, but inside. I feel like I'm living again." The women clapped. One of them cried. After the meeting, several women pulled her aside. "Please, what's the name of that herbal drink you used? Where can I get it? You look like someone who never gave birth." She gave no answer. She just smiled, because this power, this quiet, glorious, feminine power, was hers now. That evening, Chinaza stood in the kitchen cutting onions for dinner. She reached to scratch her waist and paused. Her stomach felt strange, not painful, just still, like there was nothing inside. She placed her palm flat against it. No movement, no reaction, no gurgle, just a stillness too quiet to be normal. She frowned, rubbed it again, then shook her head. "It's probably because I haven't eaten much today." She returned to slicing onions. The oil sizzled gently on the gas, but a shadow lingered in her thoughts. On a Saturday morning in Abuja, the sun sat perfectly in the sky, warm but not harsh. Chinaza stood in her bedroom staring at a brand new outfit she had ordered online. A pair of high-rise blue jeans, skinny, stretchy, snug, a white cropped ribbed top with short sleeves and a subtle gold logo, a pair of brown wedges and a tan leather bag. She smiled. She hadn't worn a crop top in over 5 years. Today was her day. Paul had invited her for brunch with his colleagues, casual and outdoors. She dressed slowly, pulled on the jeans, zipped it. No struggle. Pulled down the crop top, and stared. Her stomach was so flat, it almost didn't look real. Her waist curved inward dramatically like a doll. No bulge, no creases, no folds, just a perfect vacuum. She turned side to side. Her ribs were starting to show more than usual, but the way the outfit sat on her? Unbeatable. She stepped out of the room. Paul froze. "Wow," she smiled. "You like it?" He walked around her once, then again. "I'm shocked. You look incredible." They arrived at the open-air restaurant in Gwarinpa at exactly 11:45 a.m. It was busy. Upwardly mobile couples, influencers, realtors, bankers, all gathered around umbrella-shaded tables. As they walked in, people turned. At first, it was admiration. Eyes widened. Men did double takes. Women glanced, frowned, then looked again. "Who's that? Is she a model? She's beautiful, but is it me or is her waist too small?" Chinaza walked gracefully, shoulders up, chin high. Paul beamed with pride, but as they passed one table, something changed. A woman whispered, not even hiding her lips. That waist looks fake a beg. Another muttered. I feel like her stomach will snap. It's too much. At the buffet, as Chinaza reached forward to serve salad, her side ribs became visible. The space between her ribs and Jean's waistband looked too thin. The waitress handing her a plate blinked twice. By the time they got back to their table, Paul leaned toward her and whispered, Are you breathing okay? Yes, she smiled. Why? I don't know. Your stomach looks gone. She laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh, because she was starting to feel it too. Later that night, Chinaza stood in the bathroom in front of the mirror. Still in her crop top and jeans, she lifted the top slowly, stared. Her stomach looked like a blank sheet of paper, tight, flat, no roll, no curve. She placed her palm on it. She pressed harder. She felt nothing, no tissue, no muscle, no movement inside. She rubbed it again. Still, nothing, no gurgle, no warmth, no resistance. Just skin, stretched over what felt like emptiness. She exhaled. God! She checked her weight. She was 11 kilograms lighter than she was 2 weeks ago. Is it the herbs? Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone. She opened Instagram. The vendor's page, still active. More testimonials, more sales. She tapped, message. Good evening. Please, I'm having some concerns. My tummy is too flat now, like I can't feel anything again. It's too soft and empty. Please, is that normal? No response. She waited, kept the chat open, refreshed. Nothing. She sent another message. Please, I need to talk to someone. I'm feeling strange. An hour passed. No reply, no blue tick, nothing. She went to the vendor's bio, phone number, missing, location, removed. Her throat went dry. On Tuesday, she went to buy vegetables from the market. She wore a crop top again, gray this time, with a flared Ankara skirt. As she walked through the stalls, people stared again, but this time, not in admiration. They shifted. They gave her space. The Akro seller stepped back like she saw something wrong. A boy who ran past accidentally brushed her, paused, and looked terrified. Mummy, her waist looks like rope. An old woman hissed loudly. That's not a normal stomach. God forbid. Even the woman selling yam whispered under her breath. Her waist is like broomstick. What kind of beauty is this? Chinaza held her shawl closer. Her hands were shaking. The crowd was now avoiding her, like she was carrying something contagious. She hurried back to the car, locked the door, and cried. That night, Paul came home from work. He saw her changing clothes. She turned slightly to get her gown. He froze. Chinaza, your stomach. What? She asked quickly. It's too small, too tiny. It's unnatural. What's going on? You said you wanted it flat. Flat, yes. But this? This is scary. You're starting to look sick. I'm not sick. But you're disappearing. You look like a photo edit, like 1 more inch and you'll snap in too. She faced him, tears building in her eyes. I did this for you. He stepped back. Then stop. Just stop it, whatever it is. It's too much now. She sat on the bed, covered her face. The silence between them was louder than a scream. It was a Sunday morning. Chinaza stared at her wardrobe. Every fitted dress looked too fitted now. Every wrapper made her look like a thin line drawn on paper. She picked a soft pink dinner gown. It used to hug her body beautifully. Now it just hung off her. She stood in front of the mirror. Her crop top the day before had nearly caused a panic at the salon. It's like you don't have internal organs, one woman whispered. Another muttered. Her tummy looks like it's going to burst inward. Paul stood at the door watching her now. Please don't wear that. Why? Because people will stare again. They'll talk. It's embarrassing. She turned sharply. So now I embarrass you again? After everything I did to look good for you? He was quiet. Then he said, I just want my wife back. Not this this porcelain version of her. Her lips trembled. "You broke her," she cried. Later that week, Chinaza stepped into the supermarket near their estate. She wore a white shirt and jeans. As she bent to pick a can of tomatoes, she heard the couple behind her whispering. "Is she okay? Her back is showing bones. Her waist looks like a chopstick." The woman said louder, "I swear if that thing bends small, her body will break in two." She quickly stood and left the aisle. As she walked toward the exit, she heard a little boy shout, "Mummy, that woman has no bellow." People turned, looked. Some giggled. Some just stared. She left her basket, stepped out, and wept inside the car. 2 days later, she went to see Mama Ifunanya to pick up a blouse. The old woman gasped, "Chinaza, I can't sew for you again." "Why?" "Because every dress I make fits awkwardly now. Your stomach is gone. Your waist is like thread. I don't even know where your back ends anymore. This is not fashion. This is worry." "It's fine. Just adjust the waist." "There's no waist left to adjust." Chinaza forced a smile, but her heart was breaking. That night, Paul exploded. They had just come home from a business dinner. People had whispered all night. One man even asked him, "Is your wife sick? She looks like a filter." In the car, Paul turned. "I can't do this anymore, Chinaza. You've turned yourself into something else. People are starting to pity me." "You pitied me when I had a big belly? That was different. This question mark, this is not normal. Your waist is so small now I'm afraid to touch you. What if I hug you and your ribs snap?" "You asked for this," she screamed. "You made me hate my own body. You said I was disgusting. You compared me to every woman that passed." He was silent. Her voice cracked. "I just wanted to feel loved again." It was a quiet Thursday morning. She was sweeping the children's room when it happened. She bent slightly and froze. A stabbing pain ran through her lower waist. She dropped the broom, held her side, fell to her knees. She tried to breathe, but it felt like her stomach had collapsed inward. Paul heard the sound, rushed in. "Chinaza!" She gasped. "Hospital, now!" She was wheeled into the emergency room. Paul paced the hallway like a madman. 2 hours later, the doctor came out. "We've stabilized her. But Mr. Nuafor, what herbal substances has your wife been taking?" Paul blinked. "What do you mean?" "Her internal organs are compressed. Severely. Her intestines have shrunk in size. Her body fat is dangerously low. If she continues like this, she may not be able to digest solid food soon. Her abdominal wall is too thin to protect her core." Paul sat down, stunned. "She might look beautiful on the outside, but inside, she's disappearing." 3 days passed. Chinaza lay in a private room, pale, exhausted, ashamed. Paul sat by her side, head in hands. "I'm sorry," he said one evening. She turned slowly. "For what? For making you feel ugly? For destroying the woman I swore to love?" Tears slipped from her eyes. "I wanted you to see me again. I always saw you, I just didn't realize how much I was losing until you nearly disappeared." They held hands. A quiet silence settled between them. Weeks later, Chinaza stood in her living room, watching herself in a mirror. She had gained 3 kilograms. Her stomach wasn't as flat. Her ribs had softened slightly, but her confidence was real. She no longer wore clothes to impress Paul. She wore what made her feel safe, whole, healthy. When her church invited her to speak to young wives about beauty and body image, she agreed. She stood before 200 women and said, "Your body is a miracle, not a machine. Love it when it's firm, love it when it's soft, because no trend is worth your health." I tried to disappear, to become the version someone else wanted. But I almost lost the only body God gave me. The crowd clapped, some cried, and Chinaza smiled. For the first time in years, she felt enough. Dear women, if you've had children and your body has changed, please know that you are not broken, you are not spoiled, you are not ugly. You are a miracle in motion. Your tummy carried life. Your stretch marks are love stories written in skin. Your softness is not weakness. It is proof of what your body survived. Do not let anyone, not society, not Instagram, not even your husband, make you believe that you are no longer desirable because you don't look like the woman you were at 22. Yes, take care of yourself. Yes, feel confident. But never let pressure push you to harm yourself in the name of beauty. You were never less. You only became more. And now, to every man listening, you see, marriage is not just about loving a woman when she's glowing in lace and high heels. It's about loving her when her eyes are tired, when her body has changed, when she doesn't recognize herself in the mirror, but still wakes up to serve you, your children, your home. If your words don't uplift her, they're destroying her. If your comparisons don't correct in love, they are poison in disguise. Be careful what you say to a woman who gave you children, because every careless word is a seed, and if it grows, you may one day look at a woman who's no longer herself, because you slowly killed her spirit. Beauty fades, but your words, they stay in her soul. So choose your words with love. Support her journey, not sabotage it. Be her mirror when the world tries to lie to her. Remind her she's beautiful, even when she forgets. Because a real man protects his wife's soul, not just her body. What are your thoughts on this story? Have you ever experienced something like this? Either as a woman feeling pressured, or a man who later realized his words caused more damage than help? Let's talk in the comments. Drop a heart if you believe that every woman deserves to feel beautiful after childbirth. Drop a heart if you know someone who's lost their confidence because of words from someone they loved. And if you're a man watching this, tell us honestly, what did this story open your eyes to? This is African Tales by Imade, where stories aren't just stories, they're healing, truth, and reflection. Subscribe, share, tag someone who needs this, and remember, words build homes, or they destroy them. Say only what you're willing to see grow. See you in the next powerful story.